Hey guys, it's Jessica, and I am going to start sharing some videos with you guys on how to letter as a left-handed person. So I recently posted a short video of my hand lettering the word Christmas, which I also shared here on my YouTube channel, to an awesome group on Facebook called Stamp Junkies. And I got a ton of comments and likes and hearts and all kinds of stuff from people who were in awe that I could do any sort of hand lettering and be left-handed. So I guess the stigma is that left-handed people don't have good handwriting. And I've heard that my entire life. Wow, you have such good handwriting for a left-handed person. And I don't know where that comes from, but I guess that's a thing that people think about. So in those comments, I actually got a ton of requests from fellow lefties wanting to know how I learned how to do hand lettering or brush lettering, and if I had any pointers or tips. So here I am. I'm going to share some things with you guys. So to start off, I usually do my hand lettering or brush lettering with the Tombow dual brush pens. I find that I feel like I have the most control with that type of pen. I do also use this pen, which I believe is also from Tombow, but all of the writing is in Japanese, except for one part that says calligraphy pen. I believe that that pen is called a Fudenosuke pen, and I'll try to find the link for it in case you guys are interested in that. And anything that I use, I'll try to link below so that you guys know where it comes from and you can kind of get an idea of how much it costs. Okay, so as a left-handed person, one of the things I run into the most is that I have a hard time writing in notebooks, and that's because the binding is in the way. I don't know. I just find that maybe because of the way I hold the pen and that my hand is off to the side rather than underneath, I find that I have a very difficult time writing in notebooks in general. So you can do a few things. You can turn your notebook a different direction that suits you better. I tend to like it with the binding at the top versus flipping it completely like upside down or backwards or whatever. I find that just works better for me. Okay, so you could also work on a flat piece of paper instead of in a notebook, but I like to have all of my stuff kind of combined. Okay, so the first thing and the most basic thing that you're going to learn about hand lettering is up strokes and down strokes. On the up stroke, or strokes where your pen is moving in the upward direction, your strokes or the lines that you're making should be thin. And on your down strokes, where your pen is moving in a downward motion, your strokes should be thick. And that's just part of the calligraphy. I don't know, just it's kind of how things are done. And here's just a tip if you're having trouble. I showed you kind of there with my smudged, inky, I don't know if that's my palm. I don't know what kind of part of your hand that is, but whatever. The ink, it's a struggle is real if you're left-handed. Smudging all of your work. Put a piece of paper or a paper towel or something clean in between your hand and your surface, and it will help you not smudge your work. Otherwise, you should also invest in a mono eraser, which I will have linked below also, because it works wonders. Okay, so here I'm just doing some kind of like practicing, and it's a little sloppy because I'm trying to keep my hand so far off to the side so that you guys can see what I'm doing. So sorry about that. But you can see that as my pen moves up, the strokes are thin, and then as I bring it back down, I kind of tilt it to the side at like maybe a 45-degree angle, and I get sort of a fatter line on the way down. So it's all about how you tilt the pen and what angle that you hold your pen or your marker or whatever you're using. Whatever angle you hold it at kind of dictates how thin or thick your line is going to be. Also, the pressure that you use affects that as well. Keep in mind, you don't want to be pressing really super duper hard because you can damage the tips of your pen, but adding a little bit of pressure or lightening your pressure on the way up can really help define your lettering. This is just to show you an example of that Fudenosuke pen that I use. You can use this for a lot more intricate lettering, whereas the Tombow dual brush pens are more fat You can't get as detailed as you could with this type of pen. So I like to use this for my more fine detail, or if I need to fit more in a smaller area and still have nice defined thick downstrokes and thin upstrokes. And I really love how thin you can get these strokes with this pen. It's really cool. So again, just kind of showing you an example. I didn't really have anything planned out of what I was going to write, so I'm just kind of winging it. But yeah, so that's just kind of an example of the way that Fudenosuke pen works. Now, you can also use other pens or markers that you may have. I've seen people hand letter with Crayola markers, like the regular markers you used in school. This is a Copic marker. Again, you want to be careful with how much pressure you put because you don't want to ruin your tip, but you can see you can get that fat downstroke and the thin upstroke just the same as you can with the Tombows. So don't feel like you have to go out and buy a whole set of some sort of marker so that you can practice hand lettering. Use what you have. And honestly, you'll find that the more versatile you can be with your supplies, I feel like you get better practice because you're having to kind of compensate. And then when you have the really good supplies that you know, that if you save up for them or whenever you get them, it seems so much more effortless to do those techniques because you've practiced without having those supplies. So here I am just showing you an example of what's called faux calligraphy. So you can see that I just took a mechanical pencil and I drew out what I wanted to write, which is just the word love. And I drew it first just in cursive. So one single line for each letter, all connecting just like you would in cursive. And then on the downstrokes, or where my pen would have been moving in a downward motion, I added thicker lines. And see how it's open. I haven't used the fat pen to fill that in or anything. And it's super sloppy, you guys. It's not anything fancy. It's not like perfect the first time around. And you'll find that that is the case a lot of times with hand lettering and brush lettering. It's not just something that, you know, I don't know, it just doesn't always flow right out of your pen onto the paper and it's beautiful the first time. I personally practice a ton and I still have a really long way to go before I'm anywhere close to being as good as a lot of other people who share their work. But I'm getting there. I can see improvements from when I first started, and it's really all about practice. So I grabbed a different pen. It's just the Tombow dual brush pen in black, just because I was shading in so much area. I didn't want to use up all of my Fudenosuke pen because it is already kind of running out a little bit. I'll have to order a new one soon. But you can see I am literally just coloring in the area that I filled, you know, I thickened those lines up. I'm just coloring it in. And then this is a great way for you to be able to make larger scale hand lettering projects where you wouldn't be able to, like, you don't have a marker that's that fat, but you can still make it look really cool, you know, with using this technique. Okay, so you can see I did a lot of smudging. There's a lot on there. I wasn't really being very careful about keeping my work surface clean. This is that eraser that I was talking about. So I'll link it down in the description for you below. But this eraser is magical, okay? It takes off a layer of ink, the paper, and it's really, really good about not like destroying your paper so that it looks like you sanded off part of your paper. But you can see that it's taking off black. Black ink is disappearing from my page, which, I mean, I've never had that kind of luck with any other kind of eraser before. So this is like my super magical secret weapon, you guys. But yeah, so this is just an example of what's called faux calligraphy. And again, that is just where you write the word yourself and then you manually thicken the lines with the same marker, or you draw it in pencil first, whatever you want to do. So then I just wrote the words so you can kind of see a comparison at how thick you can get those lines if you do that faux calligraphy style. And then here is just a kind of I was just doing some practice, I don't know, kind of just messing around. And I'm going to show you what I do to myself all the time. as a left-handed person, because I have such a hard time writing on the edge of the notebook, like I mentioned earlier, I always start too far over, and then the end of my work gets all cramped because there's not enough room for it. So try to keep that in mind when you are working as a left-handed brush letterer, hand letterer, that you want to make sure you give yourself more room. I never do. I always end up cramping the end of my stuff, and what could have been a really pretty hand lettering project turns out to be in the scrap pile. And then finally, for today, I am just sharing my very favorite word to hand letter, and that is sunshine. I just love the way that the letters flow together, and you will probably find as you practice that there are certain words that you just love to write. This is my absolute favorite. I love the S's. I don't know. I just love everything about it. So that's my favorite, and I just wanted to share that with you guys. And then I just added some extra words on there as well. Again, nothing super fancy, just some practice. And that's going to be my biggest piece of advice for you guys starting out, is just to practice. I have come a really long way in just the short amount of time that I have been practicing hand lettering, but I still have a long way to go. And I can definitely tell when my hand lettering is suffering because I haven't been practicing enough. It's sloppier, my letters don't flow, I have a hard time with my up and my down strokes, getting them the right width. So I, like I said, can definitely tell a difference when I'm not practicing. So that is my number one piece of advice, just to make sure that you keep practicing. Try to do something every day, even if it's just to write one word in a notebook. Make that your goal. If you want to improve on hand lettering, just do it every day. And then I hope that you guys will share some of your progress with me. Maybe you'll make videos or share on social media and tag me so that I can see what you guys are working on. And lastly, if there is anything that you guys want to know or have questions on or things you'd like to see in future videos, be sure to leave me a comment below so that I can address those things for you guys. Hope you loved the video. Be sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this.